Well, they're all negatives. Colorless, formless, intangible, these are all negatives. Dia negativa, it's all the negatives. But its truly existing essence, and that word, of course, is arousia. That's the true object of knowledge in Plato. That's what it's all about. Now, that is perceived. That's what the whole struggle is for, is to be able to perceive that and to be able to see it in depth and permeate one's being, because one's being is reality, and therefore one sees in this way, one sees the nature of reality as oneself, and oneself is the nature of reality. That has to be a turning around. By necessity, that has to be a turning around. Now, what's interesting now is that what do you gain from that? Of course, you get the great things, happiness, and that's the very activity where the mind is nourished for its splendid vision so it can retain that vision and stay in that state. And therefore, this revolution that they talk about in the Phaedrus, right, those that can maintain that vision can therefore persist in that state for 1,000 years, and those that can stay there 3 times in a row, right, get the golden ring, and they're free from harm for the next period and go on their own way. Now, what that means is not clear, which we mentioned before in the other dialogues. Free to go, right? Free to go on their own. Now, those that do not reach this then are reborn. And therefore reincarnation comes through, and it goes through 9 categories. And it's interesting categories, and I'd like to read you the 9 categories. Let me do that now.
Can you go back to the previous page? Was
Yeah.
there something there that we missed?
Could be. What? I can turn it back.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you remembered it.
No.
All right. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Think something of it. I could, so keep a watchful eye. I've been known to do that.
It seems to a Western mind, this is a much more interesting concept of nirvana, to be free to go on your own way than just disappearing.
Yeah. I don't know what he means by it, of course.
Right,
but it's certainly interesting. Yeah. It's better than nirvana blowing out the flame.
Yeah.
It's saying something, right? It's so free to go on their own. Yeah. So let me read the. It's quite interesting because the different categories are. Sure. I'm at 248 D. Now, the whole question we want to explore later is, how do you account for the fall? How do you account for the fall? That's what we must see. So first he'll talk about it in general terms, then he'll give us some very interesting particulars about it. But when through an inability to follow, it fails to see, and through some mischance is filled with forgetfulness. Now that mischance we want to see later. And is filled with forgetfulness and evil and grows heavy. And when it has grown heavy, loses its wings and falls to the earth. Then it's the law that this soul shall never pass into any beast at its first birth, but the soul that has seen the most shall enter into the birth of a man, who is to be a philosopher or lover of beauty. And I dare say there isn't anybody in this room who's not a lover of beauty, right? Or one who is musical, or a loving nature. They fit together. It's one category. And the second soul into that of a lawful king, warlike ruler. Third, into that of a politician, or man of business, financier. Fourth, into a hard-working gymnast, or one who will be concerned with the cure of the body. Fifth, the fifth will lead the life of a prophet or someone who conducts mystic rites. The sixth, the poet, or some other imitative artist will be united. Then to the seventh, craftsman, husbandman. Eighth, sophist, demagogue. Then a tyrant, the last. Now, let us get into this very curious Platonic idea. And what is he saying? Let me read you where we're going now. Then a human soul may pass into the life of a beast, and a soul which was once human may pass again from beast to a man. For the soul which has never seen the truth can never pass into human form. Here we are now. For a human being must understand a general conception formed by collecting into a unity by means of reason the many perceptions of the senses. And this is a recollection of those things which our soul once beheld when it journeyed with God, and lifting its vision above the things which we now say exist, rose up into real being. And therefore it's just that the mind of the philosopher only has wings, for he is always, so far as able to communicate. Right? I like this sentence. Let me do it again. And therefore it is just that the mind of the philosopher only has wings, for he is always, so far as he is able, in communion through memory, which those things, the communion with which causes God to be divine. Now a man who employs such memories rightly is always being initiated into perfect mysteries, and he alone becomes truly perfect. But since he separates himself from human interest and turns his attention towards the divine, he's rebuked by the vulgar, who consider him mad. Now this is the fourth kind of madness. Now let's see what kinds of things he's talking about. That's what we want to see. And he gives some examples. So let me do it with you, all right? Here we go. Now this may seem like a tangent, but hold to it for a few minutes. This requires you now to recall, of all the things that you've ever experienced where you'd be willing to say you encountered beauty. All right, consider it. Now, two things now. Don't just think of the object. Keep in mind the state it put you into, the state of mind it brought you to. Mm-hmm. Again, can you think of some times when through any kind of turmoil, any kind at all, you were able to whatever degree now, able to keep